Good morning and welcome again to the Norwich Bulletin editorial board meetings with candidates running in the November 2nd election. I'm Ray Hackett, the editorial page editor of the Bulletin, and joining me again, Jim Conrad, the executive editor. Our guest this morning is, we're going back to the U.S. Senate race, and our guest this morning is Warren Mosler, who is the independent candidate running for the United States Senate. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Let's start with the first question. Do you live in Connecticut or do you live in the Virgin Islands?
I've been living in the Virgin Islands for the last 7 years.
Okay.
Moved there in 2003 on an economic development program, a U.S. government program to bring jobs down to the Virgin Islands. And qualifying companies that move down there and hire the prerequisite number of people are given certain tax benefits and reasons to move down there. We haven't gotten a lot of us. There's only 3 or 4 of us that have moved down, so you have to assume if markets are telling us anything that they're not giving enough for people to move down there. And they've been aggressively pursuing this program to try and get more people to move down there. I came back here in March, or the end of February, beginning of March, specifically to run for the U.S. Senate.
March of this year, right? February.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate
yeah,
for
sure.
a minute. Why wouldn't someone look at you and your campaign and say carpetbagger?
They're certainly welcome to do that. I'm sure that, and they said that about Hillary Clinton in New York as well. I grew up in Manchester. I was born in Manchester, Connecticut, grew up there. Manchester High School in 1967, UConn 1971. My first jobs were in Manchester, Savings Bank of Manchester. Then I worked in Hartford in New York at the Bation Company for George Weiss, who's still here. After that, I left in 1976 for Wall Street, worked at Bankers Trust on the money desk, where I like to say I grew up, doing sales and marketing and trading of derivatives, Ginnie Mae securities, when it was all first starting out. Moved to Chicago in what year was it? Get fact checked here. 1978, I moved to Chicago to William Blair and Company, where I started their fixed income arbitrage department. And while I was at William Blair, I started my own company with my 2 partners, Cliff Viner and Justin Adams, in 1982, ABM and Triple I Securities, which still exists today. I turned them over to my remaining partners, or the partners that were there in 1997. At the end of 1997, I ran the funds for the first 15 years. And I've kept a 1/8 interest. And I make my intellectual contribution from the Virgin Islands, where I have my office.
Do you still have a residency down in the Virgin Islands?
I have a home.
A home?
Yeah, I have a home. Right now, my residency is, well, I don't know what residency means. It means different things in different states.
Yeah.
But we've been residing in Connecticut since March, and I registered to vote here.
Before you decided to run for Senate, you had a short time just wanted to run for president.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? Why the decision and why
Sure.
there would appear to be a quick determination to not do that?
Right. Well, I've seen the economy deteriorating, and I have an understanding of the monetary system and monetary operations that's held by virtually all insiders in Federal Reserve monetary operations, quite a few people on Wall Street, everyone in my firm, and a lot of other successful traders and arbitrageurs. And for a number of years, we just simply, use this understanding to make profits, to make money. But it's gotten to the point where it's just this lack of understanding is just destroying the American economy and our way of life all around us. And so as a matter of conscience, I've been out on a mission to get the word out on how this works. My book just came out called The 7 Deadly Innocent Frauds of Economic Policy, and which explains it all in non-technical terms. And as one way to promote this understanding, I just opened up a web page where I was running for President of the United States, and actually received a number of contributions and had a little bit of activity going. I was going to be running as a Democrat, be a JFK type of Democrat, populist Democrat, against the Obama administration in the primaries in 2012. Okay. Along the way, the economy took a bad turn for the worse, which I feared, and the urgency of getting the message out now, and on urging from friends and associates, I entered the race up here as a platform or an entry point to do everything I possibly could to get this economy fixed. We're in an economic emergency now.
Your message is don't fix the deficit, correct? The deficit fixing the deficit now or quickly nationally will hurt us more than it will help us.
Okay, well, look, the
message, is that the message?
Not exactly.
Okay.
The actual message is right now we should not be taking money out of this economy. Okay, we need 20 million new jobs. And the reason we lost 8 million jobs almost all at once 2 years ago is the same reason we always lose jobs, and that is sales fall off. And it could be for any reason. This time it happened to be for a financial crisis. But if you draw a line, a graph that shows sales and jobs, when sales go up, jobs go up. When sales go down, jobs go down. Every single time, it's the same line. A restaurant doesn't lay people off when they're full of customers. I don't care how high the taxes are, or how much they hate the paperwork. If they're full of customers, they're not laying anybody off. Same thing with a department store. If they're full and people are buying things, they don't lay anybody off. Or their suppliers. Or an engineering firm. They have a backlog of orders. They don't lay anybody off. It's always when sales fall off. And we've had sales fall off. And the only way to get sales back is to restore spending power so that people can resume their normal shopping and businesses can resume their normal purchasing. And the way you do that is you lower taxes. Okay, so let me give you another way to say the same message. And it gets a little more technical, but for the federal government, the purpose of taxes is to regulate the economy like a thermostat. It's not to bring in revenues. Now, not for the state, not for the local governments, but for the federal government, taxes are the thermostat. When the economy is ice cold like it is today, it means we're grossly overtaxed for the given size government that we have. You could adjust the size of government, but that takes a long time, and we could add infrastructure projects and whatnot. But we've seen how, hundreds of billions of infrastructure projects have barely gotten spent over the last 2 years. In the meantime, we still have 20 million people need jobs. So for a given size government, there's a right level of taxes that gets us to full employment. And all you have to do is count bodies in the unemployment line. If there are too many, taxes are too high, and we need to lower them and bring the economy up to operating temperature. If we were getting inflation and people had too much money to spend, houses were going up in price every week, unemployment was down to 3%, and we thought we had an inflation problem, that's because we're not taxing enough. Okay, so taxes regulate the economy. They take money away, and the idea is to get it at the right level. Now, this is not true for the state or the local governments. For state and local governments, taxes function to bring in money to spend, because if they don't have money in their checking accounts, their checks will bounce. The federal government is not in that position. It runs the books. So let me give you just an example that everyone can understand. If you were to go pay your federal taxes with a pile of old $20 bills, you went to the Federal Reserve and you paid your taxes with that, and they would say thank you very much, and they'd give you a nice receipt, maybe thank you for paying for Afghanistan and for health care. And then as soon as you leave the room, they take those 20s and throw them in a shredder. Okay, they destroy the money.
Literally or figuratively?
Literally. Yes, and you can buy shredded money in Washington. What are they going to do with it? If the banks need actual cash, they give them new money off a new pile of fresh 20s they've got, somewhere else. Okay, so how does taking your money and throwing it away pay for anything? It doesn't. That's not the function of federal taxes. Now, if you pay your taxes by check, something very similar happens. They just use their computer to change the number down in your bank account. They don't get anything. There's no gold coin that drops into some bucket that they have to give to somebody else. They don't have some can full of dollars that they pour over here. There's nothing traveling through wires. They're just changing the number down. Your bank account might go from $3,000 to $2,000 after sending them a $1,000 check. All they've done was change your number down. They don't actually get anything. And this is like the operational reality. By the way, I always put myself under oath. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. So if any of this is not true, it's not just campaign rhetoric. This is perjury. Okay, and so the operational reality of our monetary system for the issuer of the currency is that they don't actually need our money to be able to spend. So how do they spend? And Chairman Bernanke told us this last year, and other members of the Fed have mentioned from time to time. He was asked on national TV, where are you getting all those hundreds of billions of dollars for the banks? Is that taxpayer money? He goes, not really, we just use our computers to mark up the numbers in their accounts. And that's the quotes on the back of my book, actually, from Scott Pelley's interview. Okay, so he didn't call China to see if they had anything. He didn't go to the IRS. In fact, the man at the Federal Reserve who spends money, he's just changing numbers up in our bank accounts. He doesn't even have the phone number of the guys at the IRS or the emails or the people in debt management, okay? There's no operational connection, period. You can see this with a ticket for the Super Bowl. Get this ticket, might be worth $1,000. I'd sell to you, you'd sell to me. But what happens after we go to the game? What does the guy at the ticket window do? He tears it up and throws it away. It has no value to the stadium. The issuer of the ticket doesn't have any value. It's all the users that give it value. As far as government spending is concerned, where else do we see that happen? You go to a football game. You see your team kick a field goal. The score goes from 0 to 3. Does anybody wonder where the stadium got those 3 points? No, of course not. Do we limit the number of points we can score at football games so there'll be enough points for our children to play? No. Okay, so we understand scorekeeping. If you go bowling and you knock down 5 pins and your score goes from 10 to 15, where does the bowling alley get those points? You see them go up there, they don't get them from anywhere.
You've got to pay for salaries,
Yeah.
tanks,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
infrastructure. I mean, obviously that money's coming from somewhere.
Well, when you get paid,
It's not coming from those $20 bills that someone would pay.
those $20
the
bills are
telebill,
being
yeah.
thrown away.
Yeah.
Okay, the way the government pays you is they change the number up in your bank account. That's how you earn that's how your dollars get paid. They credit the money to your account. It
But-
doesn't come from anywhere. It's scorekeeping. And you can see it happen. It's an operational fact. In fact, I was working at William Blair years ago. I think it was in the late 70s. And I got a call from my back office, and they said, hey, the bank in New York made a mistake. They accidentally, the guy on the calculators back then had buttons that had 0, 00, and 000. He says, I think he hit the wrong button. Instead of $30,000, he sent us $300 million. I said, great, go spend it. He said, well, it's the wire's closed now, but if it's still there tomorrow morning, they're probably going to ask for it back. But okay, what happened was they called us back late that night, told us to send it back, and we did. But the point was, that was real money. We could have spent that money. Our checks would not have bounced; they would have cleared. The government spends by just changing numbers in bank accounts, and if it makes a mistake and makes your number too high, it's your money, and it's happened many times. All kinds of bank errors where people get more money. Okay, and but that's where it comes from. It comes from their computer. It comes from marking numbers up. It's straight scorekeeping. Now, the state of Connecticut's not in that position. You and I aren't. Households aren't. Our checks will bounce. But think of the government as like clearing their own checks. They don't have to worry about that. They're the ones changing the numbers. We're the ones getting our numbers changed. It's a completely different situation. Now, that doesn't mean government should just spend all they want. Okay, that's a whole different point of view. What I'm saying is there is no solvency issue. The federal government cannot run out of money. There is no such thing. When Chairman Bernanke needed to give the banks $400, $500, $600 billion, whatever it was, he wasn't scrambling around to find the money. He just changed the numbers in their accounts. It doesn't come from anywhere. Okay, they're not going to run out. Now, they can cause inflation. They can cause the currency to go down. They can do tremendous injustices. They can unbalance the economy. But they're not going to bounce their checks. Government checks will never bounce, and they're not going to run out of money. And Social Security isn't broken. They're not going to bounce Social Security checks. There is no such thing. How do they make Social Security payments? They just change the numbers up in our bank accounts. It's their banking system, their numbers, their spreadsheet. It's data entry. They're making entries into their own spreadsheet. They just change the numbers up. They will never run out of Social Security money. There is no such thing. Okay? Look, the federal government doesn't have money, and it doesn't not have money.